Since independence from Great Britain in 1963, Kenya has survived 5 decades as a functioning nation-state, holding regular elections, its borders and political system intact, and avoiding open war with its neighbors and military rule internally. It has been favored site for Western aid, trade, investment, and tourism, and has remained a close security partner for Western governments. However, Kenya's successive governments have failed to achieve adequate living conditions for most of its citizens. Violence, corruption, and tribalism have been ever present, and its politics have failed to transcend its history. The decisions of the early years of independence and the acts of its leaders in the decades since have changed the country's path in unpredictable ways, but key themes of conflicts remain over land, money, power, economic policy, natural autonomy, and the distribution of resources between classes and communities. While the country's political institutions have remained stable, the nation has changed, its population increasing nearly fivefold in the 5 decades. But the economic and political elite struggle for state resources and the exploitation of ethnicity for political purposes still threatens the country's existence. Today, Kenyans are arguing over many of the issues that divided them 50 years ago. The new constitution promulgated in 2010 provides an opportunity for national renewal, but it must confront a heavy legacy of history. The Constitution was presented to the Attorney General of Kenya on the 7th of April 2010, officially published on May 6th the same year, and was subjected to referendum on August 4th the same year. The new constitution was approved by 67% of Kenyan voters. The Constitution was promulgated on August 27, 2010. Jomo Kenyatta returned to Kenya to become the president of the Kenyan African Union, which attempted to gain a large African following, but was not seeing results. Africans and Asians were banned from political participation until 1944. However, in 1942, members of the Kiyuku, Embu, Meru, and Maba tribes united secretly to fight for freedom from British rule. Kenyatta established the Mau Mau, a dedicated rebel force that attacked settlements loyal to Great Britain. This very radical and violent group started to achieve the results that Kenyatta had been hoping for. This violent uprising caused the colonial government to issue a mass relocation of Africans. Kenyatta and other Kenyans were arrested and imprisoned for 7 years for leading and directing Mau Mau movements. Some of the tactics of the Mau Mau included assassinating government officials, targeting the family members of Kiyukus loyal to the British. This included women and children, and they were very proficient at guerrilla warfare. The British response was to form a Kiyuku army, burn down villages, and torture Mau Mau soldiers. 11,000 Africans were killed during the revolt. 1,000 of them were executed individuals for the crime of helping the Mau Mau, and 100,000 Kiyuku were detained and kept in detention even after the end of the revolt. In the end, the British won the conflict, but it was clear there was no return to normal. So in 1960, British and Kenyan leaders met in a series of negotiations over the course of 3 years. Kenya gained its independence on December 6, 1963, and Jomo Kenyatta was named the first prime minister. A year later, in 1964, Kenya was declared a republic. Currently, there is an issue of lack of accountability in Kenya in regard to major human rights violation, including the extrajudicial killings and disappearances. Kenyan forces have failed to properly enforce these crimes. They have undermined their ability to hold fair and free elections. The media has had many abuses levied against them, especially during 2017 and 2018. There have been over 94 reported abuses. Police have banned and arrested protesters. Demonstrations are now illegal. Pirates who formerly operated off the coast of Somalia are now raiding ships near Kenya. The authorities are doing nothing to arrest and try these pirates. Underdevelopment in Kenya has led to the country having very few bridges, roads, train tracks, and ports. The Chinese have invested money into Kenya and created 60,000 jobs to take control of Kenya's natural resources. So this is a new form of colonialism called neocolonialism. The elite exploited the common man and sometimes have even killed and imprisoned them.